Hi everybody, David here from Ship X. Again, I'm going to do another Stormworks sea trial. This is my second video, so excuse the amateur hour here. I'm going to continue with the creations from Spider. That's the series of rescue boats, as you can see here. And I'm going to go up to a larger vessel. So the last time we reviewed the Luna Mk.II, which you can look at in my previous video. And we're going to go up to a larger vessel, which I think is down here somewhere. So the Ocelot Mk.III, and just have a quick look at this vessel to see how it differs from that smaller vessel. This is only slightly larger and has slightly different features, but let's see how it handles in the water. This is an older design from Spider, so Spider's improved some of the systems and some of the seakeeping on the newer vessels, but I believe this, if I just go back, this Ocelot Mk.III, I think it was Mk.II, yeah, so this is an improved version. So as you can see there, again, it's a slightly larger patrol boat. Got that beautiful forward raking windscreen there. Let me do a section plane through it. It's a fairly complex vessel. It's got, as you can see here, maybe this kind of section plane is going to be more useful. It's got a lot of empty, just buoyancy space in it. You've got your main cabin. You've got your control deck up the front here and an engine room down the back. And I think, as you've seen in the Luna 1, Spider's used some of this space more for rescue space. So there's a lot of empty space in this vessel. But let's bring her in, give her a quick sea trial. So I've still got my thermal clothing on from last time. So in Stormworks, we spawn into this little dock here, and the graceful way to get on board is to jump on like that. I'm going to do first person view, and I'm going to give you the tour around the deck. So again, Spider's creations on purpose, they have this low aft deck. This is so you can rescue people simply by lowering down this platform, maybe jumping onto it, grabbing people out the water. That's kind of similar to the systems that rescue boats have in real life. And this whole area at the back here, as you can see in this Ocelot, I believe it's called, Mk.II, is very low to the water, so much so that you see actually the water regularly splashing over that. But the designer, the creators, built that in with, you know, fluid ports here, drainage effectively. This is a little bit larger vessel than the Luna. It's got a railing up the side here. These nice kind of purposeful windows here, kind of like pilot boat. And I think the big difference to the Luna is that this vessel's got a dedicated water cannon for firefighting, and it's just a little bit longer, so its seakeeping should be better. So again, winch at the back. I think the rope system wasn't in when the creator built this, so there's no centralized rope here, which I'd put in these days, but you'd have rope anchors in here, and not the 4 that would allow you to do a cross pattern. But again, it's an older design. So yeah, these are the ones where you have to hold down the bottom. It's pretty much a safety feature. As you can see here, water pours in, and I think this is just a design feature that Spider had to live with, but you can see there it pumps out that water automatically, which is a really good automated system. I'm happy with it as a Stormworks creation because Stormworks is full of its quirks with its physics engine and so on. So in this case, we've got a couple of seats here for passengers. We've got our medical bed up in the main deck house here, and a whole bunch of seats here for additional victims, you could say, or people that you're rescuing. It's much more dedicated for single player. In this case, it's got a nice centralized command. It's got the 2 seats that the Luna has. Again, the system very similar. We start up all the systems with this key in the middle. You can see the electronics startup, and we can turn on these screens with these switches. Start the engine up with this button, and we'll see some of the gauges for the engine creeping up. So these are usually temperature and stuff like that, but this is actually batteries and generator. There we go, starter generator settling down there. We've got the movable map. Again, this is usually these are modules from other creators. I'm not too sure who's created them. We've got a nice camera here, a nice depth and heading, and then we've got our head-up display, which is a kind of relatively new feature from Spider's creations, but very useful when you're driving inside in rough weather. Oh yeah, here's our engine gauges up the top, RPM and temperature. Temperatures climbing up and then dropping down. So this is something to do with the engine management system. We've got our water gun there, which you can see, which I can steer with my arrow key. So let's just get straight into that. So up and down, left and right. And if I go to exterior view, it's quite rapid rate of turn it's got, but this is what you would fight a fire with. So you can see there I can get water on the side of the key there very easily. So this is a big difference between the Luna and this vessel. We've got our infrared HUD here, which will show at night time, autopilot, emergency beacon system, which I don't think was on the other one. This is the system that Spider's used in all of his other vessels. So you start the engine up, clutches in neutral, you've got a separate button for reverse. The newer vessel has got just W and S to go back and forward, and then we've got all our sort of lights here. So you wouldn't turn all of these on all the time. So I'm going to turn off the deck lights, navigation lights, rescue lights, which are the flashing lights here. Radio, radar here, everything you need to do rescue. So as I said, these vessels operate a little bit different. We're on tick over here. I'll just give her a little bit of gas, declutch, and she'll sort of creep forward like this. So again, Spider's creations here tend to lie a bit low in the water. So they're actually the water above what would be the water line, so where you paint the water line. This has got propellers, which I approve of. So we'll just creep up on the throttle here, or we can use 5 on the keyboard. And then she starts going. I'm going to turn off the searchlights. So there we go. So you see she comes up in the plane. She's actually got a very realistic kind of trim there, nose up, stern down. So I really like this vessel, just the way that she handles. Felt good cruising out. You see they've got a very deep hull, which is just Stormworks physics. Now when I continue to speed her up, you can see there's a little bit of engine management and gearing going on. So this Ocelot really planes like a proper planing vessel. She's right out the water, and I think she's one of the faster ones. Yes, 69 knots here. So this is a real fast rescue boat. I'm going to bring her down to something more realistic, give her 70%. Again, if you're watching this video for the first time, the speed of the vessels in Stormworks, not super realistic. It can be, they can be designed to be realistic, but most of the good creators create quite fast vessels like this, because going across this map, 20 knots real speed just takes a long time, quite simply. So there are vessels that can do 100 knots in here, and I think Spider's done a really good job to just find that nice kind of almost realistic speed, but something that's going to get you to your destination a little bit quicker. Again, here we don't have a range. Nope, we don't have a range meter on this one. This is one of the older vessels. We've got fuel there. We can see it going down. We get a rough idea how much endurance we've got here. Oh yeah, 60 minutes endurance. That's endurance. That's enough to let me know when I'd need to turn back. So we do 30 minutes out, and if I'm not finding anybody, I'd come back to get fuel, or I'd look for a new fuel point. So she is one of the faster vessels. Again, she's got this great turning circle. I think all of the smaller vessels from Spider have this water jet propulsion. Oh no, it's not water jet propulsion, it's propellers, as we just said. Propellers and rudders, you can see there. But she turns very well for a prop and rudder vessel. I'm going to do it at full speed. See how she handles? She gets right up in the plane there. Engine hits its limiter. And again, she turns really well. Really good turning circle. Actually slows down there in the corner, just like you'd get in real life. So let's see there. Straight line, up to 70 knots. Hard turn. She digs in, down to 40 knots. So it's a pretty good kind of behavior from this kind of planing vessel. So I'm going to slow her down. And now it's time to bring in some weather. See how she does in some weather. So give it 50% wind. No rain. So again, she's in the following wind. Got a mosquito here in my room with me. Bring her up into wind. Give her a bit of power. So I'm not too sure if there's lee effect, you know, from this land built into Stormworks, but the waves seem quite small for 50% wind. Or it could be just that she's a longer vessel than the Luna, which is the smaller one. So you can see there she actually handles pretty good in these waves. She's kiffing across the top there. I'll take up to full power. Getting some undesirable... it's kind of called porpoising when boats go up and down like this. But she's pretty good. So just the right amount of buoyancy to kick her hull up at the front. And then just the right amount of power at the back. And she seems to track... Oh, there's some treasure. She seems to track really well. So again, let's try some turns in the waves. Okie dokie. So bit of a wheelie there. This is a very powerful boat, so I'm going to try that again. So you do get some funny effects like that in Stormworks, but this is what the sea trials are all about, right? So we're going to turn around. Full speed downwind. So she's pretty good. I think she's better than the Luna, which is what you'd expect, the smaller vessel in this series. Handles really well. That's really good. She's not jumping around half as much as the other vessel. Big deep hull shape like that is going to help her. And let's go back in and change the wind. Let's do full. So in case you're wondering, I've explained in my first video, I know a little bit about boats. I'm a naval architect by education only. I studied small boat design in Glasgow, and yeah, I love boats. I've sailed. I've been on fair few number of boats, not that many really, sailing boats mostly. But I've got an idea of what I'm talking about. So following sea here, cruising along at 26 knots. Very comfortable. So I'm just going to speed her up. She's kind of surfing down this wave here. Let's see if there's any undesirable behavior as she planes and cuts through and over the top of these waves. So really good, I think. Try some turns. Again, like hardly jumping. So here we go. Just going to kick because she's stopped and the engines, the props are turning full speed. So no, it's okay. I'm okay with that. So let's see, full power. And she's just getting these accelerations as the props dip into the water. And then again, you know, game physics not being super realistic. She's just flying and jumping down. So she's actually really struggling. But I'm pretty sure if I add power more progressively, so take her down to 0% throttle. I stalled her. So sometimes if you put it down to 0, she'll stall. Engines are revving. So engines are running. Clutch is in. We're not sinking. Okay, so she's moving 7 knots, struggling against this wind. So the wind does push you backwards. So the wind is modeled. The wind will push against your vessel or your vehicle in Stormworks. So that's why even with 40% throttle, she was hardly moving there. So I'm just going to add progressively more power. 54%. You can see she's handling this a bit better here. Yeah, she's got a real funny behavior into the wind. I think the Luna was slightly better here into the wind. Funnily enough, this boat, the Ocelot, was better at half wind, but she's really struggling with the full wind and the full waves. Yeah, so she's into something porpoising here. I'm going to get into that death loop. So she's going to go really slow, I think, into the wind, or 20 knots, I reckon. She'll manage. I'll just tickle the throttle up there to 55%. Yeah. So I think she's going to have to go into the wind. She's going to be half power to avoid the sort of really bad porpoising. Very nice, very dry deck there, actually. As you see the waves not too often going over her. So she lifts up her nose when she's going into the waves. It's the kind of behavior you'd want. So you're not getting a waves washing fully over the vessel. There's one that washed over. It's the first one yet. As we get out here into the open ocean, we do get larger waves. It's really just fell right off that one. But she's pretty good. She's pretty good. So she's kicking off some of these waves. I'm giving rudder input. So she went right through that one. So the wave's getting bigger. I'd be pretty happy with that performance of her picking her nose up like that. It's pretty good. Right. So I'm going to reset weather. Waves take a while to calm down. We've tested the water cannon. She's got the same lighting system as the other vessels. You can see there all of the lights. So what I'm going to do, if I can find the lights again, instruments on, cabins on, deck lights on, navigation lights on, search lights on, rescue lights on, and then we're going to put her at nighttime, which is the final part of my test. So there we go. She's actually got a search light under the water. I saw that between the props, which will help you pick up people at the back there. So if you reverse up to somebody, God forbid with these propellers, but if you let somebody swim up to you in the back platform there, you'd actually see them under the water there. You get actually a really nice luminescence effect off the props, which I've never seen before. That's really cool. You've got a light under the water at the front, again, help you see rocks and things like that under the water. I don't believe these smaller vessels will get a steerable spotlight at all. One thing that I would like to do is to test the infrared HUD. So you can see there, infrared is actually showing me this island there. It's at a slightly different zoom level, funnily enough, than the one which is I can see out the window. So you can see there the island there's is closer than that, which is a little bit worrying, but I think that's the way it's done. And the other thing you can do is put on your night vision binoculars. There's a new feature which is really cool. Help you see people in the water. So that's the Ocelot Mk.II. It's I think it's the second or the third creation from Spider. It's one of the ones I really like the look of. I love its shape, its proportions. It's kind of like a Targa, or it's a bit like pilot boats that you get in the west of Scotland from Maitland Murray. And that brings to an end this little sea trial. I think that's all there is to this vessel for now. So That's all for now. Thanks very much, and I'll bring this recording to an end.